one channel, different shows, everything entertaining. Make a Path presents Let's Talk. Alright Deadheads, you know I like to get into these Q&As really fast, so let's jump right into this. The Walking Dead Q&A 13. Alright, let's get started. The HRS Productions. When The Walking Dead ends next week, are you going to do Q&As or review other shows? Maybe some Game of Thrones videos later. Yeah, I will always continue to do the Q&A videos for The Walking Dead. They will always fill the gaps in between other projects I'm doing. Because the Q&As are pretty easy. I don't have to add anything. I was adding the question and answer and some effects here. I think I'm going to cut all that out because that really does add time to make the videos. Just putting a quick answer, a quick question in here. Later on I might find a better method to do the videos. Right now I'm just going to do it as basic as possible for the Q&A. I think that's best because it helps produce them faster. No, I won't be doing any Game of Thrones videos anytime soon, primarily because I haven't watched any of it yet. I do want to get into it. I know a lot of people have told me it's such a great show and I've yet to check it out, but I will be checking out Game of Thrones shortly. Fran Joff, what do you think happens in the season finale of season 5? And then you mentioned the Herd might be coming in Alexandria. I know right now it seems like a lot of people are running with the idea that we're going to have the No Way Out story arc, which is in the comic books. For right now, I believe that season 5 will end, the back half will concentrate on making it to Alexandria. If you guys don't know what Alexandria is, I do have videos. You can look in my video feed for a 3-part set. What is Alexandria, what happens in Alexandria, and who is Negan. I do have those videos out. You guys can find the links for those and watch them. I think it's too soon for the No Way Out because listen, for the comic book, and this is literally how it went, we dealt with the Hunters and then Eugene was a liar, and immediately after in the comic book there was a time skip of maybe a couple months, maybe a few weeks, and then we got introduced to a new character that introduced us to a place called Alexandria. They get into Alexandria and in the comic it's literally, it seems like within a couple hours Rick goes from being a wild man to being haircut, clean shaved. He even gets like a cop uniform, you know what I'm saying? And he's already patrolling, in the same day mind you, he's already patrolling the city streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the comic book it works. On a TV show that will not work. So I do feel like they have to go a lot slower. It feels odd to go a lot slower with the introduction of Alexandria, but rush and get to the No Way Out story arc. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're going to have a slow introduction into the lifestyle inside Alexandria, and then from there we'll probably add something that was not in the comic, and then next season come back and we'll see more of the No Way Out story arc, probably in the first half of season 6 and maybe even the back half of season 6. If they were smart and wanted to stretch it, they would actually stretch it and put something not in the comics in the beginning of season 6A, and in the back 8 end season 6 with the No Way Out story arc. I think that would be a great way to structure the story inside the TV universe. Swiftical. Do you know that anyone will die in the mid-season finale, and who? Do you think that Eugene will be killed? Why did most of the group know Eugene was a fraud but did not tell Abraham before? I don't know where you got the Eugene was a fraud and everyone knew it part, because they didn't know it at all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Nobody knew Eugene was a fraud until he came clean. Who do I think will die in the mid-season finale? Beth. Clearly. Do you think Eugene will be killed? No, I do not. As of right now, I wouldn't mind if Eugene was killed, Rosita was killed, keep Abraham, and then later on in the story, the only one thing Eugene is important for, we can introduce a new character for that. So, to switch it up right now, I could care less if Eugene was killed. I do like his style and his sense of humor, kind of, as a secondary character to be, like, on the sidelines, but I wouldn't mind whatsoever if he was killed. So, but I don't think he will be killed. D-War. What's going to be Abraham's motivation now after finding out Eugene was lying? I think Abraham's motivation right now will be trying to find a new motivation for life. Do you think Daryl needs to die in order for Abraham to become not only more popular with the fans, but also Rick's right-hand man, like he was in the comics? Do you think he will end up like Tyrese and kind of fade to the back a little bit? Tyrese never seemed important in the show as he did in the comics. Do you think this will happen to Abraham because of Daryl's existence? I do like Daryl, but I don't know, man. You might be listening to the fangirls too much, because what Daryl does not affect how popular the other characters are in the show. Abraham was a dick. He was a dick on the show on purpose because he had the mission. The mission is gone now. What was making him a dick is gone. So Abraham will not be a dick anymore. Therefore, I predict that fans will start to like him, start to open up to him more and more. And it doesn't make sense for Robert Kirkman to fade him to the background if Robert Kirkman is going to keep him alive and give him the story that his comic book counterpart never got the chance to fulfill. So no, I don't believe Abraham is going to fade to the background. I believe they screwed up on Tyrese. I believe the showrunner in season 3 screwed up on Tyrese's character, and it was all downhill from there, and there's really no saving him but to show him the exit at this point. So Tyrese's character unfortunately was a casualty to behind the scenes mismanagement of the characters. That's pretty much it. Sugar Ray 22. Do you feel the relationship between Abraham and Rosita was forced? No, I do not, because it was that way in the comic book, so I was expecting it to happen, you know. Jack Dixon. Do you think the kids in a webisode are gonna be joining the group if they survive? Thanks, awesome videos. No, I do not. You have to understand, the kids in a webisode is years ago. So if they do join the group, they're going to be growing exponentially compared to how they should have only been just a year older. They're going to be about 3 years older. So no, I don't believe, no. They're not going to mix webisode with the real show. Not whatsoever. Jesse Gunsman. What do you think will happen to Eugene? Will they kill him off or just forgive him? Yeah, they'll just forgive him in a nutshell. It might take a little bit, but they'll forgive him. David Hernandez. I've been wondering about this question for a while, and maybe you can clear it up. Back in season 1, when Rick, T-Dog, Glenn, and Daryl left the Vatos place in Atlanta and go back for the box truck, we see it's gone. Daryl quickly says it must have been Merle, and he will bring Hell back to the camp for leaving them on the roof, yada yada yada. I don't think they ever cleared up if it was Merle or not. You know what, honestly, I believe that was just somebody else. We know it wasn't Merle, or it could have been Merle and he could have passed out from blood loss and didn't even make it to the camp, and the governor's men found him. That is a possibility. However, they never cleared it up, so I'm just going to assume that it was just a couple survivors. I mean, we have to keep in mind, there's other survivors out there than what we see, and we don't see a lot. I personally believe that if it was a real apocalypse like this, we would see more mini groups just tented out in different places, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just somebody else, and we just never saw who it was. Stevie the Walking Dead fan Jacobs. Holy cow, how many questions did you ask, dude? 1, if Rick, Carl, Judith, Michonne, and you name everybody by name, all made it to the all-out war storyline, would the writers kill off, and who would you kill off? That's way too complicated of a question to just do on the moment, because it depends. I'd have to write it out as a realistic scenario, and it's war, and even if I had a good character that I wanted around, if it was logical for him to die in that part of the war, I would make that character die, you know what I mean? Even if it was a character I loved. So, if they all made it on the TV show and I had to just randomly pick people to die in all-out war, Rick would live, Carl would live, Judith would die, Michonne would live, Daryl would die, Carol will die, Sasha will live, Tyrese will die, Noah will die, Morgan will die, Beth will die, Glenn dies, Maggie lives, Tara dies, Abraham lives, Eugene dies, Rosita dies, and Father Gabriel dies. So yeah, I would probably slaughter a lot of them, because keep in mind, the people that you didn't mention are the new ones coming onto the show. So out with the old, in with the new. Should main characters from the Walking Dead game appear on the show? Absolutely not. Keep them separate. I love them too, guys. I love them a lot. You know what I mean? I can't wait to get the Clementine figure from Skybound. I love them. Keep them separate. I hate the universe moshing. It's good when you want to freshen it up. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have Marvel and you have all these different characters and then they kind of grow stale. The storylines get stale. Alright, yeah, let's throw them in a bag together. Put them in a big movie together. You know, create the Avengers, you know? So do that later. Why are we rushing so much to put all of these people into one thing, you know? Keep it separate. Who should be the next wave of the Walking Dead action figures? The next TV wave, yeah, we should probably just get a Beth with the scarred face. We need a Rick with that coat, and I know we got too many Ricks, but we need the coat and the bigger beard and a red machete. Father Gabriel, we have a lot of the characters who are in the front of the line. We need some additional side characters. Father Gabriel would be a cool one. Sasha, definitely. We need a Lori already. We need to fill out that family. You can't, even though Lori was a bitch, you gotta fill out the family, you know? Give the fans, especially the action figure fans, give them Lori already. What unique way of killing walkers would you love to see incorporated into the show? Unique way of killing walkers, if I could just make up anything, let's get one of those old-fashioned clickers, you know, with a bomb on it, throw it, kind of like The Last of Us. It distracts them, they all huddle over it, and then boom. If you wrote the script for Too Far Gone, who would you have killed and how to make the episode death count and quality a little less disappointing? Don't get me wrong. I would have kept it the same because you need the other characters to further the story. It's not like, okay, let's sacrifice a character here to make the story heartbreaking, you know, because we need these other characters to further the story. The only other person you could have killed to make it, I would have kept Too Far Gone the way it was. I wouldn't have argued that in the writer room. The reason being is, if they killed Tyrese that way, like in the comic, I wouldn't have gave a shit, you know? I still would have let the governor live in with me. Listen, I like Tyrese, but I don't like him. He didn't pull his weight emotionally for me to become invested in him. He just didn't. So I think Herschel was the best pick because he ran his course as far as the story was concerned, you know? He's gone a peg leg, they're about to venture out there and they have to travel and whatever. Bob's the same way. I wouldn't have felt any different if they would have killed Bob. If they took a character we really loved, like Daryl, I think I would have been like, that's fucking stupid. All the shit that this man has done, and you're gonna let him get a gun pulled on him and he just gives up and that's how he dies, with his head getting cut off? I would have kept Too Far Gone the same way it was. Live Cat. Do you think that Abraham will become a better leader than Rick? No, I don't think Abraham would be a better leader because he has this, you know, impulsive anger issue to deal with. I think they're great leaders in their own right, but I think Rick is more approachable. Noel Chrysostomanota. Do you think we will see Morales in season 1? From season 1 again? No, I don't. Robert Van Divner. Would Negan bashing in the head of Maggie instead of Glenn have a greater impact for Negan's entrance into the show? No, I don't think it would have a greater impact. I think that it would change his character some because even though he'll kill a woman, he's not a woman beater. You know what I mean? He doesn't believe in it. So I don't think he would kill a woman that violently. So I'd have to say no. Shannon Ruse. I have seen a lot of comments regarding the format of standalone episodes and the group splitting up. My questions are, when the group settles in Alexandria, how do you think the show's format will change, if at all? How big do you think the cast will get as the show expands into worlds and communities? Well, I tell you what, we do know from the comic book that the world does expand somewhat, but still kind of stays contained, at least right now. And the comic book has a lot more material ahead of the TV show. I believe right now, if we stick with the comic book, the world that they're building, the communities they are building, that's manageable for the TV show. Now, how will they record it? Yes, I believe that for the most part, it will be split up between a few characters on different missions and runs. I still believe, unfortunately, that there are going to be some bottle episodes. I do have a video coming out that I'm going to go into more detail of the pros and cons for the bottle episodes and maybe an explanation why they have so many bottle episodes. I believe there's a financial reason they chose to have bottle episodes, and I'm hoping getting to Alexandria will actually alleviate some of those reasons. That video is coming up shortly. Good question though. Shy Woodawful? I fucked that name up. Do you think Morgan will be a part of the finale or mid-season finale? It's most likely going to be him again by himself traveling in the mid-season finale, and also in the end of season 5. We'll probably see him meet up with the group. Maybe not actually meet up with them, but we'll see him in that same area, and we're led to believe that a meeting with Morgan would happen in the beginning of season 6. That's what I believe at this point in time. Anime for life. Do you think that Abe's group will find Aaron, and Glenn and Maggie and Tara go back to get Rick and the group to go to Aaron? You know what? It's possible Glenn and his group meets up with Aaron. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I just still don't understand why they would leave Maggie out of the Beth storyline. That blows my mind. But it is possible. I never thought of that, I'll be honest with you, but now you got the idea in my head. Bone. How did you get such an adorable little girl? I love seeing her come in. That was actually an accident, but I thank God every day for her. Fairy Love. Do you think there's a chance Abraham will lose his hand? No, I don't. It's too difficult for a main character. They have to use digital work every time he's on the screen, unless they just constantly film from here up. But if he's running in the background or doing anything else, like, that's a problem they have to recognize every single time he films. So no, I don't believe they will. And I said this before, if a character does lose his hand, they should be dying shortly. You see how easy it was for them to do Herschel? I mean, they got away with it, you know, have him hopping, and they don't even need need digital because we show our characters from the waist up all the time. Do you think Abraham is gonna die, or how is he gonna die? No, I don't think Abraham is gonna die. And if he does die, it will be in a war at later. But I believe Abraham will be in the next couple seasons. Chad Juqua, you said people that would quit watching if Daryl dies were just Daryl Dixon fans, not The Walking Dead fans. Which character's death or great departure from the comics would make you less enthusiastic about the show? I think anybody can die in the comics right now and it won't affect how I feel about the show, but if you mean what character in the show would die, if Rick died, I would lose about 80% of my interest in the show because, and that's only from story standpoint, the reason the story, and people are unaware of this, but subconsciously, the reason the whole story is there, and it might not be blasted in front of us all the time, the reason we have a story right now is because this is one man who's protecting his family. He just met up with this group, and they've become his family. This is still very much one man protecting his family. If Rick Grimes were to go, things would probably change drastically, and I'm not saying it's only because I only watch it for Rick Grimes. I'm saying I don't think they can pull together a good enough story out of that. I seriously don't. If they killed off Rick Grimes at the end of the season, it would probably ruin adapting the rest of the comic book. And I know a lot of people who, especially the people who aren't Rick Grimes fans, they'll be like, that ain't true whatsoever, that's bullshit. I'm telling you right now, if you don't like Rick Grimes and you're saying that is bullshit, you tell me what could happen. If you believe that we can carry on without Rick Grimes, kill him right now and give me a summary of what the story would be like from here on out. Where would they go? And why would they go there? What would they do? Who would do what? And why? You know what I mean? Real quick. Yeah, I'd lose a lot of interest if Rick Grimes died. Reese Mofat, comic book question. If the infection is ever cured or contained to a point where it's no longer a problem, which characters or places do you think will be recorded for years to come? I believe the very first settlements will probably be forgotten about, like Woodbury. But I believe in our story now, places as big as Alexandria, the Hilltop, I believe they'll have history, but the stories early on would probably just be myth and legend. Mr. Stoichkov, who do you want to play Jesus in the show? I honestly have no clue, but I'm going to start looking into it. I don't know. Dragon Scout, do you think that AMC will do the scene when Carl gets his eye shot out? Thanks, keep up the work. You know what, I'm glad you asked, because I really want them to. I really do. I either want them to do it and kill Carl and bring up Judith in Carl's place from the adaptation, because the scenes with Negan dealing with an 8 or 9-year-old Carl, it's just more impactful than dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old looking Carl. It just doesn't have the same weight to it. They can pull it off. It just doesn't have that same weight. But now if you have a kid like Judith and we go over that scenario, because keep in mind, it's even amplified by Rick's worry. Where's his kid? Where's his 9-year-old kid? If it was his 9-year-old daughter alone with a psychopath like Negan, oh my god, the tension would be crazy. It would drive Rick insane. And then if you do read that story from the comic, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I hope they do it, but I don't think they will do it, because you gotta understand, this is something that they're going to have to put on his face every time he films. And a lot of the saying, believe it or not, comes from the actors. They can agree and disagree not to do it. You know what I mean? Chandler Riggs can say, no, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know how much say he has in that now that he's already dedicated to the role, but I know that before you take a role, you can say, no, I don't want a mask, no, I don't want anything covering my face. You know what I mean? Unless the role specifically calls for that and you already go in there ahead of time knowing that. Alright, you know what? I think AMC will do the scene. I don't believe they're going to do it as graphic as it is in the comic. They can put a patch or glasses on it and they won't have this disfigurement. Because in the comics, even wearing something, there's shit. Even around here, there's messed up. It's messed up. Baduhan Alton, now that Abraham knows Eugene lied, why would the whole group leave the church and go to Washington? Well, they won't. I believe they get Noah, and Noah is the one who advances the story from here. Noah takes them to the place with walls once they flee from the place. I don't want to ruin it, but once they flee from that place, we run into he takes them to Alexandria, which is a few miles away from Washington, D.C. Stripe, who do you think is the weakest main character so far on the show? I personally think Carl. I believe Beth is. I'm sorry. I take that back. Tyrese. Jack Dixon, do you think the kids from the webisode Jamie and Billy are still alive? And if so, when do you think they will find their way to Rick? No, we're not doing anyone from the webisode. You got it. These kids, they grew up. Look at Sophia. Look how much she grown. If she popped out now and she's only supposed to be a year older, it's going to be like, whoa, Sophia. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. They're not going to do that, you know? The webisodes, they're not going to take any of the characters from the webisodes and bring them onto the show. Corey Wilson, what do you think of TV Abraham? Are you looking forward to Jesus appearing eventually? I am very much looking forward to Jesus. I really like Jesus in the comic books. As far as Abraham, I do like the actor who plays him. I think he does an amazing job with his role. And now that this whole mission bullshit is just done with already, I'm really excited to see what they do with his character from here on out. Sil Go, do you think they would do Carl's eye in the show? After all, they spared Rick's hand. It's funny. We just, yeah, I just talked about that. Boba 772. What do you think of issue 134? Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Very excited to see what they're gonna do with Carl's character from now on. Delta Troska 125. Do you feel the T-Dog was killed off too soon? No, not soon enough. I mean, I wasn't a fan of T-Dog. And I honestly didn't feel like he had all the fans he had until he was already dead. You know what I'm saying? He could have lived a little longer and it was been fine. It's not like I hated the character, but I wasn't rooting for him. You know, he died and I was like, eh. Dr. KJ, how do you think Shiva is going to work in the show? Well, I don't think she's going to be a character that lasts long. I believe they're going to do some CGI for attacking some of the walkers. However, I believe they can get away with it. They can do it, you know? There's ways to make it work. There really is. And I don't believe Shiva will last long at all. JMZ Inc. What has been your favorite season so far? Season 1. Except for the CDC. Hated the CDC. Robert Van Divner. Do you think Michonne will be involved with Morgan when he returns? You know what? I really think there's a possibility. I believe Morgan and Michonne could have a lot of chemistry together. You know, they have wounds. They both went a little batshit crazy. For crying out loud, Michonne had her boyfriend and his friend as zombie pets, and she didn't do it to protect her at first. That's how she found out they protected her. She lost her shit. She got mad because they got her kid killed, and she forever punished them. She's a sick bitch, especially in the beginning. So her and Morgan would be a perfect fit. That'd be like a match made in zombie heaven. So yeah, I'm all up for it. Padridge Casey, do you think Carol will say she knows Beth or will pretend? I think they're going to have Carol out of it for the most part. Leslie Picklebottom, in your opinion, will Daryl go back to being funny? Daryl like in seasons 1 and 2 once they get to Alexandria. The serious, quiet, badass act is boring. I like him better when he was making funny comments and had funny mannerisms. I've been waiting for Daryl. You know what? I'll have to completely fucking agree with you. I like it where Daryl is injured and dark and whatever, but I like it more when it's a better blended mix of being like a smartass too. Because he was. Obvious Slinky. If the infection is ever cured or gets to the point where it's no longer a problem and civilization is rebooted, which people, places do you think will be recorded for years to come? I think you asked that in a different name, fucker. I answered that already. Oh, Brian Valdiva. He's actually from The Walking Dead Take 1 Instagram. If you guys want to follow a really cool Walking Dead Instagram, I actually follow him myself. It's TWD Take 1 Instagram. When we go to Alexandria's safe zone and we meet Douglas, can Bryan Cranston play him or not? What do you think? I think Bryan Cranston's way too big to play him, but I would love to see that. Expert Legend. When do you think Morgan will appear in another episode? Mid-season finale, but he won't meet up with the group yet. Obvious Slinky. Son of a bitch. How many times did you ask that question? Fucker. Sliced Up Drunk. By the time we reach something to fear in the show, who do you think will be alive in the core group of characters, and will Abraham and Glenn die by Dwight and Negan, respectfully? Where would you like the companion series to take place? I want the companion series to take place in North Carolina or Pennsylvania. Who do I think will be alive by the time Something to Fear comes up? I think the people we're going to lose before Something to Fear is Tara, Tyrese, Beth, and Carol. Alright, Deadheads, we're going to break it here, but if you do want to participate in the upcoming Q&As, go ahead and leave your questions down below. I'm going to put an example up here. Before your question, you need to put Q&A. That way I know I need to pull that out to use for the video. Keep in mind, if you ask this week, chances are your Q&A won't be for next week. Keep in mind, there are a list of questions ahead of yours when you ask. I do want to catch up and build the gap, so if you guys don't mind, like this video, I will be doing longer Q&As. If you guys do mind, please start letting me know. know, just down in the comments say, no, I like the 10-minute Q&As, and I'll keep it at 10 minutes. If the majority wants the 20-minute Q&As, I see no problem in doing that, you know what I mean? So let me know. Because honestly, a 10-minute Q&A, if I get some long questions, I might have 3 or 4 questions in a 10-minute Q&A. If I get a half-hour Q&A, I could probably bang out 10, 12 easy questions with a couple longer questions, you know? So anyway, guys, I don't want to keep rambling. Listen, if you do want to participate, or if you have anything else to add to this channel, viewer requested videos, leave all that stuff down below in the comments section. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.